Make sure you watch the end of this video because we've got an amazing competition to give away a bunch of cake decorating books by my guest today. So as you can see, Juliet has already got a cake ready for us. So what have you done to get to this stage?
I've trimmed it down, filled the layers and crumb coated it.
Yeah.
If you want to see how to do that, the link for the video is in the corner.
Perfect. So what do we need to cover the cake in the sugar paste and fondant?
Okay, so we need to have some apricot jam.
Yeah.
We're actually going to use a layer of marzipan underneath to get it perfect.
Okay.
We need some guide sticks and rolling pin, pin tool, and I think that's it.
Okay, perfect. Step one.
Brush the cake with jam. So first of all, I'm going to cover my cake with some warmed apricot jam. I'm just going to brush over with the pastry brush so it's nice and sticky, ready for the marzipan.
Step two.
Apply the marzipan. Okay, so now I'm going to cover the cake with a layer of marzipan. I've got a kilo of marzipan. The reason I'm using marzipan first is because I want to do a double coating to get it really, really perfect finish. I also use marzipan because it's got a high oil content, so it will preserve the life of the cake. If you don't want to use marzipan, you can use modelling chocolate or just do a double coating of fondant. So I'm going to knead this now and cover it over with the first layer. Okay, so the marzipan is all kneaded and pliable. I'm going to dust with a little bit of icing sugar and roll it out with my guide sticks so it's a nice even thickness and cover over the cake. I use these guide sticks so I can get it a perfectly even thickness. If you don't have them, it's fine. It's just much easier to get a perfectly level surface with them. An important thing to say is for people that aren't used to rolling out pieces of sugar paste and marzipan, it's really helpful to start with the rolling pin in the middle and work away from yourself and then towards yourself and keep repositioning it like that, because a lot of the time people just will go in one direction and then that's when you get the spidery bits that come off. So if you kind of like consciously put it back to the centre and sort of pull it rather than just one way. So now I'm going to roll my marzipan over the pin, lift up the cake, pop it in the middle. Now it's really important while you've got control of it like this, it gives you the time to come down, make sure you've got enough this side, make sure it's central, which it is. I've got plenty on this side, so I'm going to lift it and roll over. That's polish the top to get any of the rolling pin mark out of the marzipan. So now I'm going to use my hands to encourage the marzipan down onto the surface. I'm not using a pulling motion, it's more that I'm gently encouraging the marzipan to sit flat against the cake. So I'm pushing against the cake, lifting up as I go down to avoid any creases and just gently encouraging that all the way down to the surface. So now I'm going to trim off the excess marzipan, leaving about 1 centimetre around the edge, like a collar. So now I'm going to take my side smoother and just gently push the marzipan, keeping it completely straight. And if I see any little creases like this, just making sure I uncrease them. If you don't have the side scraper, you can just use your hand. Just be careful not to get too many finger marks in. It's not as good as having a smoother. Okay, holding the knife at a 90-degree angle, trimming off the excess, using the knife with a sort of forwards motion into the centre. And now get the cake turntable and give it a smooth. So now I'm just going to check the top. Always coming down at eye level, making sure it's straight. 2 side smoothers, one to hold it in place, the other one to smooth, and I like to go towards myself and I'm looking through there to make sure there's no gaps. I'm using pressure to keep the smoother nice and straight to avoid any A-line or concave lines. Okay, so the cake is ready. I'm going to put it aside. Ideally do that overnight if you can. If not, 4 to 5 hours, just so the marzipan can really skin over and firm up so it holds its shape ready for the next coating.
And step 3.
cover with sugar paste. This cake is all finished and ready. I covered this yesterday so it's skinned over. It's ready to moisten so we can cover it in the sugar paste. Now you can use either vodka, that's my preference, or brandy, or if you don't want to use alcohol, you can just use cooled bottled water. The cake is now ready to cover in sugar paste, so we're going to do a similar process that we did for the marzipan. We're going to knead the sugar paste first. We want to work quite quickly with it because it can dry out, so it's important just to knead it with no icing sugar. Once it's pliable, we're going to do a light dusting of icing sugar and we're going to roll it out. We're not going to turn it over like we would with a pastry, we're going to keep it top side up because we really want to avoid drying out the sugar paste with too much icing sugar. Okay, so if any bubbles appear while we're rolling out, just pop them with a pin and just smooth out the excess air and then just continue rolling. Once it's rolled out to a nice even thickness, we'll cover over the cake, smooth over with our hands, trim off and finish off, and also we'll check for any air bubbles and just make sure that that covering is really perfect. So now it's rolled out, it's guide stick thickness. I like to just take a top smoother and just polish out any of the ridges that you might have, even tiny ones, just before I go onto the cake. So up until this point it's been exactly the same as the marzipan. This is the part where people get a little bit more nervous because sugar paste is a little bit more delicate and it is prone to tearing. So just be really careful not to pull down, just very gently encourage that sugar paste or fondant up against the side of the cake, just gently pressing in but not pulling. So now it's the same as before, I'm just going to lift it up, get your side smoother, put it down and trim off the excess. So if you are going to use your hands for this, just be very careful because you don't want to get finger indentations. Also with the heat of your hands it can make the cake very shiny, so side smoother is best, but just take care if you don't have one. So don't work on it too much. If you have a tiny little crease at the bottom, it doesn't matter. If you overwork the cake, it can end up looking worse. So eventually anything small around the bottom will be covered naturally by ribbon or icing. So there you have it, completely covered in sugar paste. It was a really easy process.
I think it's really interesting to see such a process that a lot of people struggle with done really, really simply. So if you want to see how to take this simple sugar paste cake and turn it into something amazing, go and check out some of Juliet's other videos. Until then, I will see you next week. So thank you for watching that video. If you want to win Juliet's 3 cookbooks, then leave a comment down below saying your favourite type of cake and we'll choose a winner at random and then we'll send those books to you.